This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911, highway terror. An overturned truck traps a passenger inside and lets loose an 8-ton load of bees.
I didn't even notice the bees were on me until they started stinging.
It's a rescuer's worst nightmare.
How many bee stings does it take before you die?
Then, for one woman, a day at the movies could be her last act.
I knew she was in cardiac arrest.
On Rescue 911.
We begin on the night of June 4th, 1990, along a lonely stretch of road outside of Douglas, Georgia. Around 10:30 that night, Charles Day and his nephew Michael Brown were on their way to deliver an 8-ton load of beehives to a location 160 miles away.
You do on the weekend? You worked all weekend? Yeah.
Charles asked me for a cigarette, and I handed him one. He was lighting a cigarette, and I turned and looked out the window. And I turned back around, that's when I seen the truck going toward a ditch. I went through the window, landed on my head, and rolled.
Joe, you all right?
Finally, I heard him grunt. He's stuck in the truck. He can't get out. There was a car coming. Got somebody to go get the ambulance and the fire truck. I didn't even notice the bees were on me until they started stinging. Millions of them. It's just like they ain't nothing there but bees.
When we continue.
How many bee stings does it take before you die? I know Mr. Day was stung thousands of times.
They was stinging me behind my ears, it was down in my shoes, all under my shirt, in my hair. I was saying to myself, get up there to the road, try to get them all off of you, know, and then I thought about Charles down in there. Can't get out.
Coffee County EMS units were dispatched to the scene of a truck wreck. Sheriff's Deputy Evelyn Taylor arrived first, not knowing anything about the truck's cargo.
Can you imagine getting out of your car and 100,000 bees swarming towards your lights? I didn't realize at that time that the lights and the sirens just aggravated the bees more. The man was trapped in the truck and was receiving numerous bee stings constantly. The other guy said smoke would help keep the bees away from Mr. Day in the truck. And I give him what I had in the car, paper and stuff, to burn. They went into the car with me, stinging me. I started calling, letting everybody know that was responding to be prepared for multiple bee stings. And bees are dangerous, they can kill you.
Get me out of here!
Started smoking it, and it wasn't helping none. There was too many, and they was all mad.
Within 6 minutes of the call, paramedic Henry Lewis and EMT Johnny Knight arrived on the scene.
It was like any other wreck at first. The only thing that was different is the fact that he had 15 million honeybees in the back of it. The first problem is the fact that he was pinned in. To me, when he was down there for 5 minutes, he was down there too long. It looked like there was possible femur fracture, so you can have blood loss, plus bee stings. He was in a lot of trouble.
If the EMSs or firemen or anyone that was in that group that was allergic to bee stings, they knew not to get out of the vehicle.
Douglas City firefighter Waylon Moore and his partner arrived to begin the extrication. They tried to protect themselves by wearing full turnout gear, but it didn't work.
First thing they hit was my bald head, right up under that helmet. It started stinging me up under my coat, right around my eyes, my arms, got up my britches.
Your ambulance is your best friend because there's everything you work with besides your knowledge. And you couldn't get near it.
I've had people pull guns on me, and you can usually talk to them or else you can respond back with firepower. But these bees didn't respond to anything. How many bee stings does it take before you die? Nobody knows. I know Mr. Day was stung thousands of times.
By the time a second medic unit approached the scene, they knew to turn off their lights and siren. One paramedic who was allergic to bee stings stayed inside the ambulance, while his partner, Lamar Douglas, went to help.
Lamar was all gung-ho, ready to go down there. It didn't matter if it was bees or not. And I asked him just for his safety. I said, "Are you allergic to bees, Lamar?" He says, "I don't think so." Lamar was down there 30, 45 seconds. When he come back up the embankment, there were just bees all over the side of his face. He was flush red, couldn't talk. His eyes were kind of rolled up in his head. He was in severe anaphylactic shock, the most severe one I've ever seen. It scared me because I've worked with Lamar. I was scared that the airway would close, and that's the worst complication. Once it closes, it's hard to open it back up. He wasn't even on the scene for 5 minutes, and he was already the worst patient. We only had 2 units, 4-man crew, and one of them was going to be useless, Lamar, and the other guy was allergic to bees and knew it.
Mr. Day's father arrived. He went down to the bee truck and helped with them. I was thinking they wouldn't be able to get him out before he was dead.
All right, get him, boy.
By the time rescuers were able to free Charles, he had been pinned in the truck for almost an hour. Around the same time, a water truck they sent for finally arrived.
That helped a lot with the bees when they started spraying them. Calmed a lot of them down. They started going back towards the hives.
We really worked hard to keep Lamar from dying, and his heart rate's already in the 200s.
John's on board. And 3, based on both pages every
I looked at Henry, and he just turned real pale.
chicken soup.
I was scared because we'd used all our medications for allergic reactions on Lamar.
All I could think about was we'd given them all the drugs and I'm fixing to die.
Everybody got a series of shots, and you know, they assessed us real quick, and had to go back to work.
Lamar.
Paramedic Lamar Douglas and the driver of the truck, Charles Day, were admitted to Coffee Regional Hospital under the care of Dr. Romulo Navarro.
I was surprised that Lamar was still alive. Bee sting is sometimes even worse than a rattlesnake. You can die in 15 to 30 minutes if you develop an anaphylactic shock.
He's breathing. He's breathing. Okay, let's go.
Because Charles Day was a beekeeper for many years, he had a high tolerance to bee stings. He was treated for injuries suffered in the accident and released 4 days later.
Lamar, can you hear me?
Lamar Douglas was hospitalized for 8 days.
Hold your breath, Lamar.
I woke up in the ICU about a day and a half later. The doctors have told me they didn't give me much chance of coming out of it. You know, that I was, just a very lucky, paramedic.
Then it was sort of like cleanup time. We had to keep the roads sealed off for several days due to the fact of the bees. anyone riding through there, if they had their windows down, the bees would automatically attack.
In the 3 years that have passed, there have been a lot of changes in Charles Day's life.
I got completely out of the bee business. Since then, I've got married again.
In essence, the bees brought us together.
Charles moved to Florida after the accident, where he met Judy Mattis.
I wouldn't wish the wreck on anybody. If he hadn't had that and wasn't down here, I never would have met him. I might not be married. I might not be as happy as I am.
You want to take the billfold out before you go? Come on, John.
It just makes me think a little different about everything. Be a little more careful, help other people a little more. Everybody that was out there went through a lot that night trying to help get me out. And I'd like to say thanks to all of them.
Okay. Here comes.
Paramedic Lamar Douglas developed encephalitis as a complication of his allergic reaction to the bee stings and was unable to return to work for 2 months.
Right now, personally, I just try to stay away from them. I carry extra, medications to help me out in case I get into another situation like that. But I'm just very cautious. I don't run into scenes as fast as I used to.
Anything that would fly and make a buzzing sound didn't agree with me for a good while. We cannot do the patient any good if we become patients. But I really don't know how we could have prepared for it. I don't know if you can. I mean, how many times does a bee truck turn over?
Next.
My daughter tugged on my sleeve and said, "Is that lady snoring? She's breathing funny." I knew when I saw her that I needed to do something right away.
Call 911.
On November 1st, 1992, in Austin, Texas, Hazel Muraview decided to take in a movie with her friend, 77-year-old Beatrice Bowles.
I got acquainted with Beatrice when I moved into the apartment that I live in. And she's the first friend that I made there. And she's still my best friend right there. Maybe I shouldn't say that because I got other friends. It was a nice day, and we just wanted to get out, and we wanted to see this picture. A river runs through it.
Half as long.
I'm going back to the bathroom.
We were watching the movie, and Bee reached over and says, "I don't feel too good. I'm going to go to the bathroom."
Good. Now throw it away. Here's been in God's oaths. For 1,000 years, it's not the place of any no bus change that condition.
Are you all right? I'm fine. Okay.
I kind of took hold of her hand, and her hand was very, very cold.
Had you rather go home? No, I'll be all right in just a few minutes. Just in a few minutes.
Fast. The good things we receive from thee, and as often as we fall into sin, we look upon it.
I think we better go home. Bee. Oh, my goodness.
Lisa Geibel and her 2 children were seated next to Beatrice.
My daughter tugged on my sleeve and said, "Mommy, is that lady snoring? She's breathing funny."
Bee.
I knew when I saw her that I needed to do something right away.
Bee.
My father had a pacemaker put in a year ago, and I was there when he had those attacks and scared me to death, and the similarity was striking to me.
Call 911.
Yes, this is over at the Arbor 7.
Yes, sir.
And there is a elderly female, slightly overweight.
Is she breathing right now?
I do not know.
Can you go check for me?
I will
or is there
be glad
someone
to do
that you
that
can...
and get the information right back to you.
Okay.
Is anybody a doctor? Is anybody a doctor? Is there a doctor here?
I'm a nurse. Can I help?
Finally, this man stood up and said, "I'm a nurse. Can I help you?" And I said, "Yes." My emotional state was just panic.
Ma'am?
Don Ritchie, a licensed vocational nurse, assessed Beatrice.
The sound she was making was just a gurgle. There was no viable respirations. I knew she was in cardiac arrest.
From the back of the theater, medical student Quincy Ford noticed the commotion.
You do mouth-to-mouth, I'll do compressions.
Y'all need some help?
In just a minute.
I just said, hey, I know CPR, and I had no idea who he was. We both just had this main goal, and that was to help this older woman.
1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. We'll switch on 5, 1, 1,000.
I became tired. I started getting real dizzy in the head, and I let the man know that I didn't want to pass out on him.
No pulse, continue CPR.
It's one thing to breathe into that CPR dummy that everyone works on, but to breathe into an actual person, it's really hard.
Dr. Mark Gordon also happened to be in the theater.
Even in the best of situations, only a certain percentage of people survive a situation like that. So at that time, I didn't think that her chances might be good.
Within 5 minutes of the call, Shift Commander Paramedic Bobby Gutierrez arrived on the scene.
How long has she been down? 4, but let me get around you.
I found the heart rhythm to be in ventricular fibrillation, which is a lethal arrhythmia. The heart is quivering, so she's clinically dead.
Still Defib. Clear. Still Defib.
He defibrillated her once,
Continue CPR.
and then there was still no response. I continued breathing for her.
2 and 3 and 4 and
Charging
5.
again. With every minute that goes by, the chances of survival are decreasing. Every second that ticks by, the chances are worse and worse.
Check for a pulse. Clear.
I started crying when they were working on her on the floor because I thought she was dead, or would be. I didn't think she would live through it.
360.
Okay.
We defibrillated her 3 times,
Still Defib.
and she didn't show much of a response, and that's bad.
No pulse.
Okay, continue CPR.
By the time additional advanced life support units arrived, Beatrice had been without a pulse for nearly 15 minutes.
Continue CPR. Continue CPR.
I didn't want to leave. I want to see her eyes. I want to see her open her eyes.
Okay, let's stand by and check for a pulse.
When EMS was ready to intubate the woman, I got up. And when I got up, I saw her face, and right then I was completely sure that it was a wasted effort, that this woman was not going to respond.
Here, bud.
Great. What do we have on the monitor?
Sinus rhythm on the monitor.
Okay.
ST.
It's
Okay.
faint, but it's there.
They didn't seem to be getting any results. And then I heard someone say that they had got a beat.
We've got the line going.
Okay.
It was amazing because the paramedic, he said, "Can you open your eyes?" And I was really shocked. And she opened her eyes, and my heart just fell to the bottom of my chest. And I said, "Oh, God." I wanted to kiss her.
Beatrice Vowles, a 77-year-old grandmother of 2, was hospitalized for 3 weeks, but recovered from her heart attack without any serious after effects.
I had a checkup the first of the month, and the doctor said I was doing great. And I said, if I'm doing so great, let me have my car back. I'm still fussing about that, but I'm doing great, though. I feel good. I walk every day. I'm on a diet. Everyone comes and says, "B, if it ever happens to me, I hope I'm as lucky as you were." The luck of the Irish, why not?
Recently, Beatrice got a chance to meet the people who worked together to help save her life.
They asked me if I'd like to meet her, and I said, "Oh, yes, of course. I'd love to meet her." And I looked at her and I said, this was really corny. I said, "Hi, I'm Quincy." And she had like this color in her eye, and I said, "She's alive." And I said, "Thank you, God."
I lost my own grandmother this year, and last night I realized I was given the opportunity to help someone else's grandmother or give back their grandmother to them, and that meant a great deal to me.
Yes, you did.
She just fought the odds. All the odds were against her, and she fought them and beat them, and it's just remarkable. It doesn't happen very often. It was good to see a positive ending for a change.
Are you Dr. Barr?
Yes, I am.
Well, I'm so
Good
glad
to
to
see you.
see you.
Really good to see you.
I was afraid you would. It's all like a story you would sit down and write. Why would people, perfect strangers, stop and do something like that for you? Because they're great people. They're wonderful. They saved my life. I'd been playing a harp somewhere right now. I'm doing all right. I'm doing fine.
We owe it to those we love most to learn CPR and basic life-saving techniques. You never know when you might need them. Courses are available through the American Red Cross and the American Heart Association. This series is dedicated to all the caring people who've made it a point to know what to do in an emergency. I'm William Shatner. Join us again next time for more true stories on Rescue 911.
Mr. Shapiro, step out of the car, please.